So this fourth myth is about running a business in Vietnam. Is it expensive? Yeah, maybe Simon, you can start with the legal costs.
I think it depends. If your clients, just want to have a company to sponsor the long-term visa, to stay in Vietnam, the cost for maintaining a company may be expensive for them. But another corporate clients for example, from the US, they want to access Vietnamese market. The cost to set up and maintaining a company here, it will be not high. For clients, I always advise the clients.
It's 16 hours.
I always give them a list of maintaining costs they need to deal with. For example, annual business license fees, auditing fee, accounting fees, and the tax rates, for example, VAT, CAT. It's easy for them to estimate the total amount they need to prepare.
Exactly, yeah. So VAT in Vietnam is 10%, and corporate tax is 20%. But there are some incentives for example, software companies. Corporate tax actually can be very low. So yeah, I think it's best to speak to a lawyer depending on what business you're starting. And yeah, maybe some other costs as well, fixed costs. I think the first one is definitely the registered address. So before you open a company in Vietnam, you actually need a registered address. You need it before you apply. Now, some people ask, can it be in my apartment? Can it be in my house? It generally can't be an apartment. It must be in a building that could be used as an office or looks like an office. Maybe when they do an audit, it has a desk, table. But this also depends on what business it is and how big the investment is. Maybe for some smaller businesses, you could get a virtual office. So in some provinces or cities, especially in Ho Chi Minh, and that could cost between 500,000 Vietnam dong to 1.5 million. So a month. So it's quite low. I think it's cheap. Also, there are some restricted areas in Vietnam. We can give an example from Da Nang, the sea boundary area, which is from the sea to 𝐼𝐴 Street. Generally, it's very difficult to open a foreign-owned business there. And in Hoi An as well, the old quarter in Hoi An. So that's one fixed cost, which is the office. Yeah, so now, Maureen, maybe you can talk about some other fixed costs, for example, staff or tax filing, audit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about staff first, because most companies in Vietnam, they also need staff. And I think the two main options when it comes to hiring staff, at least the legal way in Vietnam, are either to officially employ them with a labor contract or to make use of freelancers. And in Vietnam, like in most countries around the world, there is a legal minimum salary that you must respect. And if you officially hire somebody in Vietnam, then you must also register them, your employees, for compulsory insurance. That is 21.5% on the employer side and 10.5% on the employee side. And other than that, so other than the legal minimum salary and the compulsory insurance, the salary, the cost that you have to spend on your staff depends on their position, their skill level, and their experience. But I don't think it will be a surprise to anybody when I say that human resources in Vietnam, they are generally much lower than in most Western countries, or for example, in Asian countries like Singapore or Hong Kong or China. And this is in fact one of the big reasons that more and more companies are relocating to Vietnam because of the lower labor costs. Then something else to keep in mind, and Simon already talked a little bit about it, is tax. So if you have a registered company in Vietnam, then you must take care of filing and paying your taxes on a regular basis. Some taxes will need to be filed and paid on a monthly basis, for example, personal income tax. Others are administered on a quarterly basis, for example, value-added tax, VAT. And then there are taxes that are finalized on a yearly basis. So for example, corporate income tax, CIT. Now, some business owners, especially the bigger ones, they hire an in-house accountant to do that work. And in Vietnam, you can find an in-house accountant, full-time position, for starting from around 10 to 15 million dong per month. Other business owners, especially the smaller ones, the leaner startup companies, they often outsource that service to a third-party tax agent. And by doing so, they can save some money, because for 2 to 3 million Vietnam dong per month, you can already find a good tax agent to take care of your tax administration. And finally, a cost of running a business, and this only applies to foreign invested companies, is that they have to do a yearly financial audit. Especially for smaller companies, it's not very burdensome. And for around 5 to 10 million Vietnam dong, you will be able to find a good auditor. It has to be an independent auditor. So it cannot be your tax agent, it's somebody else, it's somebody independent who looks at the books prepared by your accountant. If you have a bigger company with loads of transactions and complicated structures, then the yearly audit is a bit more expensive than that. But for smaller companies, for between 5 and 10 million Vietnam dong, you can already have your audit done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe for some smaller startups, and at the beginning, they're not generating cash flow. There's not so much revenue. The bare minimum costs would be for the office, which can be around 1 million if it's a virtual office. And the yearly audit, 5 to 10 million per year. And of course, you need an outsourced tax agent, and that can be 2 to 3 million. So I think the fixed costs aren't too bad, and it's quite low compared to other countries. Excellent. And okay, so I think that's a myth buster, right? It's not expensive.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, good stuff.
Well,
so
Simon had a good point, and it says what the purpose is of to register a company. And if it's just to secure your visa, then maybe you look at those costs and you think, But if you really have a good business plan and you compare the costs in Vietnam to your home country, then it's often much lower. It's not expensive.
Exactly, because we have a lot of clients who are looking to open a business just to obtain a long-term visa, and in their cases, it's quite expensive to pay that much money every month. So
but then it's good that there are some practical ways to reduce those costs, right? For example, the virtual office.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And also businesses can be set up in Ho Chi Minh City if you're not there. So if it is an online business, then you can open a company in Ho Chi Minh City where the laws are more relaxed. There's less red tape, and also the fees are lower, and you can do that remotely from anywhere in Vietnam. So I think it's another good point to keep in mind.